Welcome to Awakened Soul with me, Kristen. This is the place to elevate unity consciousness and create the new earth. Are you awakened to your heart and soul led life? Are you seeking clarity, connection, and a deeper sense of purpose? You are not alone. You are part of a grand awakening, a collective shift that is transforming our world from the inside out. Join me each episode as we explore consciousness and spiritual evolution through inspiring conversations, wisdom teachings, and powerful activations. This is more than just a podcast. It's a sacred global community creating a new earth of unity, love, and freedom. So open your heart, get ready to be inspired, elevate in frequency, and awaken to your highest potential. The shift is here, and it all starts now. Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Bielecki, and you are listening to Awakened Soul podcast with Kristen. And today I have a wonderful guest, Shannon Pardini. And if you have followed the Unity Consciousness event, she has been on twice. She's an incredible being. We always have incredible conversations. And Shannon is a powerful vessel for evolutionary DNA intelligence. And we can go to some depths. So thank you, Shannon, for being here. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure, and I think this is going to be a fun conversation because I truly feel, the topic tis the season to get generationally healed.
Hmm.
The energies are blasting, and even you and I are in the process of doing a little healing today. So
Yeah.
ready to dive in.
Great. So Shannon and I both on other sides of the country got whatever a virus. And so if we're clearing our throats or coughing or whatever it is, it's
Feel free to join
yes.
us.
Yes.
We're
That's
all
great.
getting generationally healed, purging all the viruses in the world.
Indeed. I'm really curious of because you said tis the season to up level, and it really is. I mean, I have been going through so much the past few months, and especially just in the last few weeks of what's been moving through on a frequency level and what's really shifting our biology and our concept and the whole what I feel is the whole collective agreement. And I have some things that I've been noticing, but what are you perceiving right now that has initiated this topic for today?
I think as we get towards the end of cycles and years, and during these periods of times, in the similar months, it just, there's so much that we've been working towards all year, and then so much that we're distinguishing within our own belief systems and cellular purges. And so this is always the right time where I think November, December, we start kind of really soulful thinking about what is next.
Yeah.
Right? There's that belief system of not enough time, wanting to push into the next of, all this extraordinary information that we've taken in over the year. And there's that pressure button, right? Well, what I really think is happening during this time is we're going through embodiment. We're going through an integration of a ton of information. These bodies hold so much information.
Hmm.
And each year we're always up leveling and evolving.
Hmm.
And just by looking at the collective spirit right now on planet Earth is it couldn't be more polarized, but that polarized is, just taking all the illusions offline. And so, with that as a reflection, we're doing it within ourselves. And it couldn't be a more impeccable time to step in with our source and choice. And so, that's really what I'm seeing is again, it's the human likes to beat to the drum of cycles and we're not that time and space. We're really about purification. And so I love being put in the pressure cooker of these months because we do get generationally healed.
Mm. Yeah, especially with the holidays where we tend to have, there's the whole idea of family and get-togethers and you were reminding me of the cycles, for those of us who are in the northern hemisphere and we're experiencing fall, autumn and that time where we're literally watching, a cycle shift or spring, whoever's in the southern and there's spring, you're watching a cycle shift. And it's really optimal to spend our time going, wow, what was happening previously to these months? And what do I get to gather from that, harvest from that, look at and feel as we're moving into the next phase. And we experienced so much this year that it makes sense that it's a really feeling of more intense integration and embodiment that's happening. And so, what I'm also hearing you say that I'm feeling, no matter if spring is coming alive for you or the leaves are falling and it's autumn, that it's a real time to slow down and take it all in.
I think so. Yeah, I do. I do think these times, especially because the cortisol and the stress levels are so high collectively, it's time to really observe from a place of gentleness. It's
Mhm.
time to take a back seat with the physical vessel, not letting it lead in all its chemical emotions, right?
Mhm.
And so this is a time to pause, take a breath, let ourselves catch up, give ourselves a pat in the back. Again, we've taken in so much information this year, especially, we're so connected into the social media worlds and everything else that if we don't, then the body won't go through embodiment and integrate. Instead, it will, create this stagnant frequency where it's bottlenecking.
Mhm.
So rest, letting yourself integrate. You don't have to overthink of what's next or what has been, but instead just having gentle pause and feeling into where you really are cellularly and consciously.
Absolutely. And I really received this. It felt like it really landed in my body yesterday and the day before, where I was watching, kind of just projecting the months ahead and just seeing, and kind of just noticing energetically, and then also the path of my life and things that I've thought of planned out and different things. And it was like, I reeled a couple things back in. I was like, you want to know what? I don't need to be having this on my plate right now to make sure that it happens, in February or March or something, that's not what I need to be doing. And I could just feel my whole body just be like, and I felt myself coming back into my body. And then what that initiated for me in my embodiment was, let's get connected again with not just my with myself deeply and get so deeply regulated, like more regulated maybe than I've ever been in my life. Like that's what I feel like I'm being called to do right now. And then what came from that, when I said yes to that, I was like, why am I doing what I'm doing in the world? And it felt like a whole refreshing connection, and all these connections started to happen in my awareness of things that I've been noticing and picking up and seeing, and opportunities coming into my life. And it just shifted my whole perspective on the trajectory for the next few months from where I had started when I was feeling like, oh, I need to slow down. And it helped me get into that space of, oh, this is what's true. This is what's true. And so, absolutely, yes, to the
Yeah,
embodiment piece that you're talking about when you slow down.
100%. I think we have to give ourselves a blank canvas, meaning we have to let our nervous system completely regulate. Right, because the purest information is going to come from that consolidation. The physical vessel is always taking in so much information where it's compartmentalizing. It's, that we're telling the cells to do all these different, instructions frequency wise. And it's never going to lead us to where we need to, not need to be, but where it is authentic. And
Mhm.
so the self-regulation because the vessel already has structure and organization. It knows it wants to lead with us in the most
Mhm.
authentic way. And having that time to which I love being sick right now. Like I'm not gonna lie, it's been great, getting taken out for 2 weeks, because even for me, I like to live in no time, no space, but it really brought me back to the studies that I like to do. I've been able to go into the reflections of information that I've been working on for a long time, and now it was just so clear. And it really took having this cold slash flu, whatever the heck this is, for me just to surrender. Right. And then on top
Mhm.
of it, the cold itself has been such great neurofeedback because I don't get sick often. And to have that remembrance of, what it's really like to be 3D on a cellular level, it's humbling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I needed that. I needed to go back to a blank space, because next year I want to come in and co-create something new, as always. And I want to integrate everything I've learned and then exit that old identity or whatever that was of that version of me and
Yes.
come forward. And so I hear you 100%.
Yes, and I love what you just said because I was just writing about this because actually tomorrow's my birthday,
Oh,
right? And
happy
so I'm like,
birthday.
thank you. It's like, so how amazing to go through this, my body, same with you. It's like my body's purging, doing what it's doing. And I really am feeling that shift of identity. When that whole shift happened a couple, over the past couple of days, it's like, oh, wow, yeah, all that we have been doing that's been leading up to this moment is leading up to this version of myself. And it needs the time and space to stabilize, to ground in, to have a place to be nurtured and and see from that new perspective. Really see and feel and hear and listen and take it all in and the subtleties of this new perspective. And recognizing what, because I love that, you want that you do that, it's like get rid of, this old identity can shift out and this new creation that you're bringing in can come from true power, true creation, because it's not just on reaction or response to the world. It's coming from deep within, from allowing your body to reset. And I love what you said too, is the vessel wants to lead with us. I don't, sometimes I find that people don't have that kind of trust in their body or,
100%. And that goes back to getting generationally healed. Our physical bodies are a mastery of how much information they're holding,
hmm
right?
yeah.
It's incredible, the on a subconscious, um, very unawakened state of how much information a human is holding in their body, and that information is magnetics of what's playing out their current timelines.
hmm
Right. So, of course, the vessel is going to be in a place of, it's going to be chasing frequencies that the body is emitting from all this old information, right? And that goes back generations. Those are going to be some of the same looping patterns that a person is playing out in this particular lifetime, right?
yeah.
And so, again, harnessing simplicity, harnessing and getting to know the physical vessel in such an intimate way, and understanding its communication, and also understanding the patterns that aren't very natural to the physical vessel.
hmm
Um, it gives one reorganization, it gives one complete structure, but we also have to be in a place of really not taking our human species so personally, right? Because everything everything is based right now in this particular third dimensional holograph on all this identification that's a complete illusion. And so the truth is within the body. The body has the awareness and the intelligence of all the information it's holding of us at the purest state and also in all the gathering of programming. But the beautiful thing is it already discerns, it already knows the difference, even if it's highly subconscious, right? Because the body is always shooting us neurofeedback, meaning it's always shooting us the chemical signals of
Yeah.
what is absolutely not us.
Yeah.
And that in itself is self-regulating. So very much so, this physical vessel is to me, I just love it. I think it's such a gift. And I think the key to fully ascending and becoming the most intelligent, purest version of yourself is through gaining the access and the language of this intimate, pristine, basically computer.
Hmm. Yes, yes, yes. I have loved getting into my body, yeah, over my lifetime of this life, and really, it really was and has been and is and continued to be a real place where I feel the transmission and the reception of life and connection to life. And it helped me with understanding myself, understanding what was going on around me. And it was really interesting. So I like that you're bringing this in because in a session just before this, we were talking about trusting the body, especially when you hear what people are saying, but you feel something different. Your body is telling you something different, right? And how a lot of times that will take words to trust words, someone else's word, more than we'll trust our own body and what we're sensing and how it's responding. And how important it is to really go, wait. Words and the words have vibration, but the vibration is not just carrying the words, it's carrying their energy and what's underneath those words, what's in those words. And our bodies can take that in and it's like, whoa. And then the beautiful aspect of what you just said is not taking it personally. It's not going, oh, this person's a bad person and I got to do this and that because they're not telling me the truth and stuff. It's going, whoa, they're just playing out their role. Yeah, at this
100%.
time.
Yeah, everyone is wanting to know themselves in all these various aspects of different consciousness, right? So there's nothing wrong with what everyone is choosing to experience because if they didn't experience all their belief systems and limited beliefs, they would never exit these dense energies, right? Because the
Mhm.
body always knows more. If
Yeah.
someone is misbehaving and always in these lower limited beliefs or acting out in ways that aren't very conscious, the body will shut down. It will 100% shut down. That can only last for so long,
Mhm.
right? Where there's
Mhm.
a lot of the dark night of soul accidents and so forth.
Mhm.
But, you know, every person, again, whatever they're going through, that is part of the awakening process.
Mhm.
And I think it's
Mhm.
brilliant. Yes, we're in this 3D holographic. I think it's brilliant how we chose our emotion and chemicals to wake up, right?
Yeah.
And we would, each of us, I was telling my students yesterday, none of us would ever know one person's consciousness.
Mhm.
There is so much information being carried in one human that it's not just from the programming that they're getting in this particular lifetime. They're
Yeah.
carrying all the generational information of the same looping cycles and patterns and that was carried over in the bloodline,
Mhm.
right? And then it goes even further. There's the reincarnation cycle where same information,
Mhm.
right? So we need to give each other grace again. And, the awareness is for us to show up and be accountable for us and to know where consciousness is when we're dealing with the people, places, and things, just understand that there's a high level of programming going on within them, and that's what they're choosing that they want to learn to exit their density and
Mm-hmm.
to move up the step ladder of what consciousness is. And
Mm-hmm.
so, again, just going back to, this evolution is whatever your physical body is feeling, having that pause. And again, not taking it personally, but really learning to start interpreting the language of what frequency and resonance is and how it's communicating. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, nothing is outside of us. If someone is reflecting or mirroring some sort of triggering or where we feel like they drain our energy, it's not them. It's just that there's information in us of programming that they're activating and it needs to be looked at. And it doesn't have to be taken in this heightened state of um, humans like to be over dramatic about the belief systems and so forth, but we don't have to take it that way. Instead, we can just start interpreting, what is the information? What are we currently agreeing to if we're getting triggered by these sensations, right? And knowing that if we're getting triggered, right, there's some sort of pattern that we need to look at and start breaking up. One, by being aware. Two, not by taking it personally. Three, by being proactive of, okay,
Yeah.
I feel this matrix frequency, my body can hold something that's much more aware and an intelligent and go to that space. So it's again,
Mm.
it's mastering the body and becoming your own neurofeedback.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. That self-reflection, really taking the time to not put the focus on the other person or the event in the world or, a whole dynamic, maybe a community or a group, just saying, wow, okay, coming back to self, coming back to self. And that leads to so much healing, as you were talking about this up leveling that we're going through and the generational healing that's happening. So I'm watching that as well. Like if we can take that self-reflection, it ripples so deep. If we can get to, what I like to go through all the layers, let's go underneath that. Let's go underneath that. It's like, okay, if you're feeling anger, let's go underneath the anger. If you're feeling frustration, let's go underneath the frustration. Feeling grief, let's go underneath the grief. Let's go into the depths and the layers so that we can get to that point. And that point is the code, and that code is then the frequency that's going to ripple out all this information that may not even be relevant to your soul, your presence, your experience, but it's just that code from mom, from dad, from great grandma, from great great grandma,
And the
somewhere down the line. And I was really honestly meditating on this when you came up with that topic, and I was like, ooh, what's coming up for me, that wants to be generationally healed. And it really came down to perception of life and how we choose to interact with life because of our perception of life. And I noticed on both sides of my family, there was violence, there was anger, there was all of these things that have gotten passed down and substance abuse. And I was like, okay, let's work with this because that's what came through when I asked. And I was like, okay, let's not play small here, right? And while I'm watching this, I'm watching the frequency of Earth, the frequency shifting so intensely that it's like we can no longer, as we're doing this up leveling, take those things with us anymore. If we do want to truly embody and the mastery that you're talking about, this mastery, these next phases that are coming through this planet, we can't, like you said, that polarization that's happening. What side of the polarity do you want to be? Do you want to finally take that responsibility and accountability for yourself and do the healing, or kind of stay in the place where there's continued, and there's no judgment either. There's no judgment of one and the other. We're all going to be in spectrums, but I can sense my whole system going, I can't take that with me.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of, when we've done a certain amount of work, meaning breaking up old patterns that we've been catching ourselves in of limited beliefs. Then, we peel like an onion. Then the next of the deeper information of that belief can come up, right? Because again, the human, the way it's been working inverted with the way that we use our software system.
Yeah.
And so we've just piled all these different frequencies on top of what's an innate home resonance in the vessel, which is just a very pure, subtle field of neutrality, right? That's our source consciousness. It's very clear. It's not fragmented in all this information that's creating duality and polarity. It already knows what it is. And so,
Yeah.
we've been coding and stuffing down what is so subtle and pure that people wouldn't even recognize it. The species, us, the way things are is we always have, for us to be alive, we think that we always have to be something in some sort
Yeah.
of identification.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all this over identification that we're co-creating and telling ourselves stories and illusions, and we don't even know where the information came from, but we're
Yeah.
still highly agreeing to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then going back to where you were talking about of you stepping in and you looking at the addiction,
Mm-hmm.
the anger, you said abuse,
Mm-hmm.
right? In all those, again, going into those layers, right? Because they're so multi-layered in the information, but going to the deepest of it, those frequencies become addictions because, again, people have a fear
Mm-hmm.
of the unknown, what is next, right? So they have to have these power plays to try to co-create some sort of identity of why they're even
Mm-hmm.
here.
Yeah.
Right. And then, of course, the anger and the emotion and all that because they want to be right. They want to be seen, but it's so convoluted in the information,
Mm-hmm.
that's even co-creating that type of chemical. But what I love about all this, again, is there is a baseline
Yeah.
in the physical vessel, highly neutral. It is our innate source resonance, but we've never tapped into it. It's never been held long enough. Humans wouldn't even know how to go to it because in the environment, there's so much over sensory, right? There's frequency everywhere that our body's getting attuned to. And
Mm-hmm.
we think on a daily basis, we consistently have to be expending our energy, identifying,
Yeah.
right? Chasing frequency. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not what this is about. Again, it's like
Mm-hmm.
these vessels are so intelligent, and if we can harness and tap in to our true home
Mm-hmm.
frequency,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which takes a little time,
Yeah.
but when we can get to that place, then we can really start becoming more authentic with how we're showing up.
Yeah.
Belief systems are all filled with polarity and duality. I haven't met a person that understands a belief system in purity yet,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But it's fun to go in and look at belief systems and guide them into what is a frequency of no time, no space in that belief
Yeah.
in its highest aspect of information versus, what they're currently co-created. And so for something like addiction, right? We'll just use that someone's hiding themselves. It's also used as a power play because, they'll take in whatever they're addicted to, so it'll give them a heightened sense of self,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I'm fascinated with all these layers of information, but
Yeah.
also at the same time, um, we are so evolved. It's just that we're not using the body correctly, and all this old form conclusion stories of identity can easily be dissolved when one really, again, just takes a step back, right, is not letting the intellect lead anymore, but having a true check-in of how you do want to feel through the physical vessel,
Yeah.
right? It's
Mhm.
it's not going to be what we think.
Yeah. Yeah. Indeed. Yeah, I appreciate exploring all those layers of it. And when those arose in meditation, those specific things, I was like, ah, okay, because I can see how they've played out in my family members. And I know that because I'm a part of that family, I carry it too. So I was like, okay. And I did. I just went with it and I felt compassion first. And then I just went into that source neutral energy. And I just felt this just sense of quietness and the space in my body and my DNA and the part of all my fields that have been carrying this information start to kind of unravel, recode itself, and then go into a space of do we want to be like that blank space and then just let that blank that new form have some space. And I was kind of in this moment of, or do I want to say, I want to be this, right? That whole identity thing, right? What do I want it to be? And I was just like, I just wanted it to be pure light right now. I don't need it to be anything other than what is maybe part of my aligned highest blueprint or template as this body, as this being, so that I am not, as you're saying, that, using the mind to decide. Because I know a lot of times we do that. Like, okay, there's this whole idea like you release or transmute something, replace it with something else so the other thing doesn't happen. And I know we do that for some time until maybe we can get to that mastery point of just letting it be pure presence, pure light, nothing else. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what's the best words for we were entrained coming into these bodies to work through our egos and our minds and our intellect, right? And that all means the same thing. And that's not the way that the vessel works. That's how one programs, right?
Yeah.
And of course, we need the ego, mind, and intellect at first, to program us in all these various identities that are complete illusions, right? At the end of the day. But if we didn't learn all these different aspects of these co-creations and stories that we think we are, we would never master frequency, right? Every identity has a limitation, it has polarity and duality. And each one of those frequencies that I just spoke about are different,
Yeah.
right? And so from being entrained, from using the DNA in such an inverted way is, that's the pressure cooker. That's what's eventually going to evolve someone to come out of the amnesia, to wake up, right? Because enough has been enough. And then from there, we get catapulted deeper inside the body, whether we're going to learn to still use it correctly or not, but we get catapulted because we know that there's something more to this than how we've been doing things, right?
Yeah.
But that's where it's at. It's learning how to drive the physical body through the language it expresses itself in, and it expresses it through resonance and frequency. That's the language.
Yeah.
Right. And then that's the awakening. That's
Hmm.
one of the first steps. And
Hmm.
so our matrix, on a cellular, environmental, every level, the matrix is the same matrix of these limited frequencies is playing out in each and every one of us.
Yeah. Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
But that's the amazing thing is, we're frequency and electrical beings. This body has all types of living elements that create these thermal dynamics that want to transcribe the resonance and frequency.
Hmm.
Well, if we're working in these really dense algorithms, then the vessel's not it's not doing its job, right? It's not transcribing from a very what's the best way, fiber optic state that
Hmm.
it could, where you can get the purest information of you.
Yeah.
Right. And so just like you were saying earlier, like I'm just going to relax and let the information come through.
Hmm.
Well, the information is here. It's
Hmm.
hardwired. It's in the DNA of our most expansive state, but it's not going to come through if there's fragments,
Yeah.
polarity and duality, right? It's
Hmm.
getting this body to a single state where it's not hooked into all these magnetics of the old belief
Yeah.
systems.
Yeah.
And when we're holding the higher awareness and purity, then the body can start transcribing correctly, right?
Yes.
And from there, the ego, mind, and the intellect become our ally. They understand,
Hmm.
right? But they're also part of the process to get us to this point where we can learn to be the intellect through the physical vessel.
Yes.
So again, it's really supreme to me, um, and impeccable of how these bodies work. They're always communicating to level us up,
Yes.
ascend, to generationally purge, because we're not our generations, we're not our bloodline, we're not our DNA, we're
Yeah.
something far more advanced and incredible.
Yes.
And the only thing that's keeping us in this fragmented, dense reality is the space-time form, right? That the body is occupying in
Yes.
every nanosecond of how it's coding and attuning. And
Uh-huh.
so the evolution is mastering that. And from there, again, next steps for humanity really is learning how to clear these bodies of information that's not theirs, right? Through frequency and resonance,
Hmm.
understanding what that frequency and resonance is till you can get to a very high evolved level of learning to start taking time, gravity, right? All of those belief systems offline.
Mm. Wow. I feel like we get glimpses of these experiences, like in our peak experiences and like really profound meditations. And then after that, it's like, oh, okay, how do I get there again? How, and then we have to work through all the layers of the mind or what has been generationally been coded into our, through these you know, bodies to then go through that and then maybe have another aha and like really pure moment, and I feel that those are moments where we get to embody that supreme state that you're talking about and really feel it. And not that like you said, we don't have to chase it. We don't need to go start chasing it. Then it's going, can I just let that be? Know that it's there. If I experienced it, it is this, it is here. And all of this is coexisting right now, in different layers and different the way that, and so then it goes back to, well, how am I leading my life? How am I choosing to be? How am I choosing to think? And I think that's a whole getting to know ourselves, awakening process that happens. So that it's not this aspect of, oh, I'm just going to heal and all the stuff and this stuff is gone and I'm going to be this thing. It's more of like, whoa, no, this is the deep dive into how am I really leading my life that is either just a coded reaction to life or coded response to this life. And so let's talk about that a bit of maybe really directing our life force energy, our focus, our concentration that does support healing these generational DNA codes that we are carrying around.
Yeah, I think, one, it's we have to be accountable. Again, there's nothing outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
The vessel is just like a multidimensional computer. It's taking in information, whether it's limited beliefs or internally it's processing pure frequency, right? All that information that is gathered in this co-creation, because the human is this creation state, is creating magnetics of where you're consciously experiencing your timeline, right? Each and every one of us. And so it's not that complex. It's going in, and again, step one, which people do not like to hear, is everything that we've created up until this point has been designed by us and by the information that our software system is taking in. It's creating submagnetics, hertz, resonance in the organs that are playing out consciousness, limited beliefs, right? Once they're stored in at a dominant state, it's going to play out on a multidimensional level in different areas of our lives, right? So, how do we go in and harness that? Well, the ascension and the embodiment and the evolution of becoming an advanced human is not for the weak-hearted. It takes dedication, it takes extreme focus, right? It takes making choices not from our addictive programming, right? Because the human's always going to want to go to those old frequencies of the old identity of self. It's learning how to discern what is us and what is a matrix frequency. A matrix being the belief system, the patterns, right? The old stuff. And so when we step into fully being accountable, that's what I call adulting, right? Is seeing creation and understanding how it developed itself from a micro and macro, right, of information through beliefs and identity. And then how that is projecting and coding in the DNA and giving the cells and the whole cellular template signals to hold the information and then to become the magnetics. Right. And when we go in and learn this accountability, we don't have to make it tough at first. The accountability is to see the actors, people, places, and things in the environment. That's all creation too, right? Wherever those people, places, things are, just know that it's all the programming and what they're experiencing are various timelines of where they are consciously. Just like us, I'm accountable. Whatever I've created in my life or whatever I've purified, I'm having that exact timeline now in consciousness of where I am, right? And where I am consciously is going to attract the same fields of intelligence. I'm going to be having a timeline of the actors, people, places, and things from a place of where my body's emitting the magnetics and frequency, right? And so, what does this all mean? Going back to that accountability, that we have this canvas, we program it, whatever it's going to be programmed, it's going to shoot an experience and timeline that we're experiencing. Well, why don't we start making choices of what we really want to feel, what we really do want to co-create? And the body's going to tell you what is no, right? If we're in a process of making choice and I'm in a heightened state of anxiety, do you think I'm going to make choice there? No, that's a pattern. I'm going to walk away, go do something else till I can come back to what I want to make choice in or not make choice at all, right? And so the accountability really comes into this purity. Most people, their accountability are more out of power plays. It's more out of identity. It's more of chasing that frequency resonance that they got programmed in that's really primal, right? Where there's all kinds of junk in there. But the more focus and discipline that we can get with taking a back seat, knowing that creation is concepted from a lot of information, that we can go in every nanosecond and start discerning, right? Why are we agreeing to this? Where did this information even come from? Do you even believe it? Right? And so as we're going in and starting to peel all these frequency layers off, what happens is you start to find that the most neutral, self-regulating, right, state frequency of the nervous system is really where the body wants to be at all times, right? And only we can do that. No one can do that for us. It is a resonance that plugs you fully into the most expansive information of you, where you don't even have to overthink of what's next or how to self-organize and structure. When you're in this state, very subtle, that the body knows, it's when the purest downloads can come through. Right now, most people are getting downloaded from programming, right? And they're chasing that. And then it becomes the whole looping system of never achieving what they fully want to achieve, or it's the looping system of them never feeling, what is the words? Even if they achieve it, it's like never enough, right?
Yeah, they're not satisfied. They're not fulfilled. Yeah.
100%. And so when we become this mastery of learning how to have this intimate communion with the body and frequency and how it's working with us and essentially communicating, right?
Mhm.
It's from there where we can take a whole new accountability, because you start to realize how impeccable this machine is,
Mm.
and how it's always been right there, right?
Yeah.
We've never been separate from source, we're not any type of separation.
Yeah.
Yeah, the body might be fragmented from all the different information it's been taking in and programming,
Mhm.
right? Because if you think of these vessels, each and every area, currently the way the human's working is taking in different levels of various limited belief consciousness, and so the body feels so fragmented out.
Mhm.
But it doesn't have to do that. The
Right.
body can be trained to hold one unified field and then start learning how to become intelligent from that, right? Where it expands into all this information, where you can make all these glorious choices of what you truly are. And it redefines meaning in beliefs, because beliefs become so pure,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
So again, I think the whole point of when you said, okay, give us the tools, and it's really step one is becoming accountable and knowing that there's nothing outside of us. This isn't an outside job.
Mhm.
To ascend and to become intelligent is through the vessel, which consciousness is what shifts everything. Consciousness is what shifts biological age.
Yeah.
Learning how to be intelligent in the vessel and starting to direct the whole anatomy to hold one consciousness
Mhm.
really levels up the technology where it can transcribe these these fields of the intelligence, because it's most people can't hold a unified field or even that subtle field of 0 point, right? That very neutral state,
Mhm.
because the body's too stuck in wanting to go into all its automatic repeated behaviors,
Yeah.
right? So it just disconnects. It'll go to the pattern
Yeah.
because the pattern has more magnetism, right? More
Mhm.
energy, hertz, whatever. But that's the accountability again, is when we learn to get into the driver's seat of this vessel. At first it may feel raw. There's a lot of different tools to exit out these patterns and these submagnetics of the belief systems,
Yeah.
but the things that's going to take is leadership over the body,
Uh-huh.
right? Not taking things personally outside of ourselves. If we're experiencing anything in the environment, we're creating it
Yeah.
through our consciousness of what the body's holding in information.
Yeah.
So that's where I think it really starts, is the accountability to want to know how impeccable this multidimensional computer is, how it outputs, how it inputs, right? And then getting in the driver's seat, it takes some tools, until you can become.
Mhm. Yes, beautiful. And I really enjoy hearing it on a mechanical point of view too, of like, oh, the magnetics, the submagnetics, the hertz, and that really brings home that we really are frequency vibrational beings. We're not all this density. We're not all this uh, idea of what we have been conditioned to think of as the human, and to really honor what I'm really receiving too. And it's something I love to do in my morning meditations, but it's just really feels like it's up leveling it, is to really honor the body in its functions and the mastery that it already is, the intelligence weaved in with uh, our soul and this life force energy that we are. So I'm really grateful for your language and your intelligence and what you're bringing through to support people in their own mastery and healing. So thank you for
Thank
that.
you. Yeah, likewise. And I'm just kind of laughing because we're both in this frequency of the cold,
Yeah.
and having this expression, right? And
Yes.
just kind of tapping into the densities of the cold, but at the same time, how enlightening this conversation is because we're holding that field, right, of neutrality. So again, it's fun to see the different aspects of frequency playing out in a timeline multidimensionally.
Yes, exactly. And I really also, it's really fascinating because my son didn't get sick. And sometimes, of course, when you're in a house, you swap back and forth or whatever. But that's what really helped me see that it was my own body, my own matrix going, okay, something needs to be tended to, something needs to clean out, something. And that's when I really went in and went to that point of really tuning into my energetics and my field and life and my nerve system and going, right. Thank you for showing me, thank you for showing me. And getting to this space of clarity of how to, who I am moving, who I am right now, what's transitioning and shifting, as like we're going back to the beginning of our conversation, what is up leveling and taking that time to pause and get really clear so I am not just staying in that cycle, right? Of okay, now I gotta get ready for, the next Unity Consciousness event, whatever. It's like, no, I don't. I
Yeah.
can do something totally different.
That's the beauty, and that's where it gets exciting, right? When you
Yeah.
realize you don't have to be in this time space, when it becomes that no time, no space, and you move into the abstract field, that's when it feels alive again. It's like,
It does.
yes, I don't want
Yeah.
to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But I think like what's so good in full circle of what you were speaking about is I didn't get any of my beloveds sick either. And it's the same thing of I think it is this period of time, right, where it's the pressure cooker where the body needs to dissolve some of the deepest frequencies in the cells, right? And I do think it's important to have flus and colds because it's what gets us to finally like sit back, surrender, right? Let the nervous system just go into a place where the densest of the densest cellular debris in the body can leave. And that's a lot of these periods of times in these months.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, as always, Shannon, this has been so great to connect and to share this beauty and intelligence. So, can you share with our audience how they can reach you, connect with you?
Yeah, no, thank you too. I always love chatting with you. You can find me at shannonpardini.com. Should be pretty easy. That's my website. I do a ton of teachings on beginning to advanced DNA. I don't really share it on there, but sometimes you'll find me on shows and so forth. But if you want to reach out to me, shannonpardini.com. And then every once in a while, I'll put videos out on the YouTube channel, which I think you can find under Shannon Pardini.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. So I look forward to a part two sometime with you, and I'm sure our audience does because through the Unity Consciousness event, people have always really appreciated your wisdom and what you share. So thank you. Yeah. So everyone, thank you for being with us today and really taking in what was said and maybe taking what's your greatest takeaway today, what really feels good for you to be accountable and be really aware of your life and how you're directing it, so that maybe today you can sit back, especially through this new moon too that's happening, to decide, what's new, what's fresh, what do you get to create anew. And if you'd like to, this Friday, the 21st, I'm leading an online new moon cacao ceremony, and we're going to do just that. We're going to integrate a lot of these energies we've been having and get really pure and clear on our intentions and movements forward for this next phase we're coming into. So you can go to awakensoul.net, events, and then click on new moon ceremony. So thank you, everyone. Again, thank you, Shannon. And we'll be together. Our next episode will be December 3rd on this channel at this time, every first and third Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific. So we'll explore another illuminating, awakening experience. So have a wonderful week, and I'll see you back here next time. Thank you, Shannon. Be well. Thank you for joining Awakened Soul, your place to elevate unity consciousness and to create the new earth. Join me, Kristen Bielecki, every first and third Wednesdays, 9 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. For more information and to connect with me, go to awakenedsoul.net. Explore how I can support you on your awakening journey through my online gatherings, sessions, and mentorships. Don't miss a show. Subscribe now to take the steps towards a more awakened, heart and soul-led life. Until next time, live, love, laugh, and be free.